Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another deck profile. Today I'm sharing with you guys my updated list for Mono Blue Soul Striker. So if you want to see that, make sure to stick around, subscribe if you're new, and if you guys want to be updated when I post new Dragon Ball Super content 5 days a week, make sure to hit the notification bell. All that stuff really does help me out a lot. Anyways, long story short here, I think it was a week or two ago, I posted a blue-yellow Soul Striker list, and the main reason for that was, besides posting, a new updated version of the deck that's been around for a little while, I was very curious as to why Soul Striker has not been doing as well in competitive tournaments than I think a lot of people really expect it to be doing. Going into this format, yes, there were some Realm of the Gods decks that seemed strong, some older decks that seemed strong, but Soul Striker was practically untouched, and some of the other colors had been reduced in power, particularly yellow and hand control. So a lot of people thought that Soul Striker would kind of step up, do a lot better, maybe be one of the best decks in the format. And we really haven't seen that, and I know that took me by surprise, again, as I think it took a couple of you guys by surprise. So I built Blue Yellow Soul Striker, built a list that I really like, so if you guys do want to play Blue Yellow Soul Striker, I would still recommend that list to you guys that I posted, again, I think a week or two ago. But yeah, I played it at locals, tested it on my team, and it just wasn't really putting up the results that I wanted it to, but I definitely started to learn why it wasn't doing as well as I had hoped. And that's because Kefla, SS2 Kefla, the main backbone of that deck, is incredibly vulnerable to so many things. Like, you want to play it during your opponent's turn to remove a battle card ignoring barrier, get a lot of value out of it, potentially block with it, but there is so much removal in this format that if you play the card during your opponent's turn, it is not very likely to live, so you're losing all the value on it because it's not making it back to your turn to use the activate main. Just a long story short, if you guys kind of know about how the blue yellow deck works and how SS2 Kefla works. So thinking on that, my next thought was, okay, maybe mono blue Soul Striker is decent, and maybe blue red Soul Striker is decent. I didn't really care for so much for blue red. I do think it's a fine build, but I think there was a lot to mono blue that I wanted to try out because of the blue cards that I was playing in that blue yellow deck. So we'll get into that here. You guys obviously know the leader if you're here for a Soul Striker video. The main thing about the leader being so strong is that it untaps 2 on attacking on the awakened side, and one of the reasons people might expect this deck not to do so well is because there are silver bullets that punish this leader just for existing, but there's so much removal even in this version of the deck and in the blue yellow version of the deck that's not totally like a feasible excuse. But again, I think the vulnerability of Kefla was a big reason for blue yellow not feeling so strong to me. But anyways, let's get into this. So we have 4 copies of Gogeta Unison. Again, this is a similar philosophy to that blue yellow build where we're playing a slightly more aggressive build. So I think there are 2 ways you can go about mono blue. One of them would be the typical, like, play super defensive, play baby Unison, stall to turn 7, activate the -5 so you can have a free counter ready, and then play like you're turning the tide or your 5-drop Kale. I think that's like the very control-y way of playing mono blue Soul Striker. This is a bit more of a tempo version where you can put on a lot of attacks earlier, and this is one of the cards that helps you do that. But I will mention again that against a lot of aggro decks, I don't actually cast this guy. I cast another card that's much better in a little bit, and that's because they're pushing me down to 4 life anyway so I can awaken, and then I rely on another Unison later. But still, I mean, for those slower mid-rangey matchups, this card is a beast, attacking twice for 20k, and it's pretty tanky being a 20k itself, so it doesn't really lose markers all that much. 4 copies Sand Instinct is the best turn 2 play in a Soul Striker deck. Then we have the Baby Hatch, of course, it's blue, it's our SCR, that's what we're playing. 4 copies of Bean, of course, 4 copies of Dimension Magic, pretty self-explanatory stuff here. 4 copies of Vegeta Interceptor. Okay, so that card I was just talking about that I normally cast against aggro decks, that's Vegeta the Interceptor. So this card is one of the main reasons why I really wanted to try mono blue and just make this card the backbone of the deck. It's very cheap, doesn't require any like weird other investments like comboing for Kefla, let's just say. It's just such a straight up good card that you can cast for 3 and then you get 2 energy back once you're awakened. So what I'm doing against a lot of aggro decks is, my turn 1, turn 2, I'm playing defense as I feel I need to. If I'm going second especially, I'll probably keep that turn 1 and turn 2 energy open. But if I'm going first, I might tap out for a 1-drop play, which we'll see later, or I might tap out on 2 for a Sand Instincts. Again, it depends who goes first, depends what matchup it is. But against a lot of the aggro decks, they'll push me down to 4 by turn 3. So what I'll do is I'll cast Vegeta the Interceptor, clear up a bunch of their board to alleviate some pressure, and then I'll swing into more of the battle cards or swing into their Unison or whatever the case is, and then my leader will untap 2 energy. So that feels really good there. Vegeta the Interceptor is very comparable to your Unison, except that it actually offers you removal as well, which is a huge thing for the card. Like, again, that's why I'm playing it against aggro decks, because I want to clear their board, alleviate pressure, and I'm not really leaning into Gogeta Unison. 4 copies of God Stealing Trunks, of course, with blue Unisons. The card's incredible. I will say, though, God Stealing is not as good as it's been in the past. Like there's just a lot more cards to deflect nowadays. I think the main use of Trunks, to be honest, is like anti-floodgates, kind of like how black uses Super Kamehameha and yellow sometimes uses like Tyrannical Blow and whatnot. That's probably the main purpose of this card, but I mean, besides that, there's still the occasional high cost battle card that you can hit with this if your opponent doesn't exactly see it coming. But at this point against blue, they should see it coming, so the card loses a bit of value, but I mean, it's still incredible. Then we have 3 copies of Tapion. So a little bit awkward just in the fact that we're not playing unisons that gain markers. But again, this is more of a tempo version of the deck. I want to be able to put out cheaper threats earlier in the game than like the turn 7 versions of Soul Striker. So this card's still really good. And again, it's not very frequent your opponent is going to take markers off your Gogeta because it is 20k. So that's really good. 2 copies of Boo Unison. Okay, so I was talking about the aggro matchup, playing Vegeta on 3. We're stabilizing with Boo on 4. Honestly, I really wish we had like a different alternate awakening condition, or could awaken with a 3 or higher unison in play, because I want to play a blue deck where I'm just playing 4 Boos and not even playing this Gogeta, to be honest with you, because Interceptor is just so good on 3 that I wanted to be playing Boo on 4 most games. But if I don't need the removal, of course I'll play Gogeta and then awaken, swing, all that good stuff. But yeah, I mean, against the decks where they can create a nice board early on, this Vegeta on 3 into Boo on 4 is incredible. So turn 1 we haven't seen yet, but turn 2 Instincts, turn 3 Vegeta, and turn 4 Boo. That is a great curve against a lot of these faster decks. 1 copy of Fighting Against Fates. This is pretty much dual attack central here, and that coupled with Sensu Bean is a lot of value because, you know, Bean sticks on a battle card that's attacking multiple times. That's a lot more your opponent has to combo out of, so that's great. 1 copy of Champa, of course, for some game-ending pressure. Then we have 4 copies of Isekai Keeping Watch. Okay, so this is our primary turn 1, and this is another reason why I love playing the mono blue variant of the deck. This is blues in archetype Koitsukai, and the fact that I actually have a turn 1 energy now, I want to make sure I can use it just to, you know, generate some value, whether I want to combo this for 5k or punish my opponent for playing battle cards during my turn. Like, this is incredible. I mean, if Soul Striker was more popular, of course you could play like a Borgos of some sort, or maybe some other Silver Bullet type of cards, but I mean, this is probably the best blue Silver Bullet you could play in a deck like this at this current point in the meta. Then we have 1 copy of Dirty Burst, another reason I wanted to play mono blue. This card is absolutely incredible, particularly in the U7 Goku matchup, where you can prevent their 8-drop boss monster from attacking, and if you had more like battle card counterplays, those are very susceptible to Vegeta Resolve Renewed. Dirty Burst does not have that problem because it's an extra card. It's absolutely incredible. Love this card in the deck. I like one of them in the main because U7 Goku is relatively popular, and you never know when it can come up against another SCR or a Fu Dark Banisher, Celzino, whatever the case is. So I do like one in the main. Definitely recommend putting 1 more in your sideboard. 2 copies of Chill's Army. Now that we're playing mono blue, we freed up some space. 2 copies of this makes a lot of sense. It is a bit unfortunate that we can't exactly control when we get to 5 life. Our opponent can be super stally with us if they want to be, but we play a card that's actually really interesting later on that kind of makes that okay. Then we have 1 copy of Kale Rampaging Demon. Just in case the game goes late, I still want to have an option. I mean, you're playing blue at the end of the day. You have all the defensive options in the world, so I did want to have that 1 real big boss monster, but not a Turning the Tide because that is strictly tied to turn 7, and this at least can be played on 5 if we need it. 1 copy of Tapion, just as an extra copy of a 3-cost unison. I never want to not be able to awaken when I want to, and it is our 1 unison that gains markers, so it works nicely with Tapion Calamity Challenger. 2 copies of SSG Goku Miraculous Transformation. Okay, so here's the thing. I really like this card, and I thought in a mono blue variant it would be a lot better than in the blue yellow variant, and to a degree that is true, but this card is so tricky to use. Like, I'm never really casting it on 3 unless I do some weird shenanigans, like, I don't know, Sensu Bean offensively or defensively and then tap out for it. But tapping out for this card is pretty rough because it's not necessarily impossible for your opponent to kill it, right? So maybe you can back it up with a Chill's Army Reinforcement. Maybe you can back it up with like a Sparking D Magic. Usually what I'm doing is I'm waiting until turn 4 where I have Boo Unison in play, and then my leader plus Boo is getting me 3 energy back. And then I can, I can D Magic if I want to get the 4th energy open, or Bean once again. But at least I have another energy now to help defend this guy. Don't get me wrong, if you stick him to the board and he makes it to your next turn, it is infinite value. It feels really good, but it is not that impossible for your opponent to attack into this and kill it, especially again if you tapped out and put yourself in a bit of a vulnerable position. But I do love the card. 2 of though, because 10k combo, and yeah, it's somewhat hard to pull off. 3 copies of Beerus Destroys Realm of the Gods. This card's incredible. It's an on-color pseudo combo, which gives us more things to do with our leaders' untapped energy or with our D magics or sensu beans. The card's absolutely incredible. Great in the Gogeta Xeno matchup as well, because you're able to remove those you know, those true fighting spirits that give you such a big problem. And then we have 4 copies of Trunks battling the forces of evil. So the only thing you need to know about this card is that it's a super combo, and it draws you a card if you have a blue unison in play. That's all you need to know here. The rest of the effect has to do with Rejuvenate. We don't play Rejuvenate in this deck, and that's absolutely fine. This was a tech pointed out to me by Marcus, and I love it because we can't really control when we get to 4 life. So even though Vegeta is definitely a better super combo, we can't always meet that life requirement, which kind of sucks. Besides that, I didn't really want to play Zamasu in this deck because I want to have a super combo that offers me offensive power. I feel like there's enough defense in the deck already. I want to have pushing power. And the last thing is, I don't think Zeno super combo really offers this deck much. Like, this is not the Bojack Brigade version of the deck where you can make crazy plays happen out of your energy. So Zeno doesn't really offer me much in this deck. This super combo, though, has actually been super nice because you're already playing a deck that's reliant on putting a unison down. So yeah, I mean, your super combo is always going to be live. And the worst case scenario, if you don't have a unison, it's still a 0-10k. Like, that is really, really good. If the meta was like pure aggro and I knew that people were going to be focusing my life, I would probably just play 4 Vegeta super combo, but there are still plenty of matchups that aren't going to be very quick with you, so I want to make sure that I can push offensively when I need to. And the final card of the deck, we have 2 copies of Golden Avenger. Again, we're not playing Baby Unison, but you can always just cast it for 5. That's come up for me quite a bit, actually, and it's been very powerful. Like, if you have a board full of Interceptors, or you have your Unison on board and your opponent's already low in life, or you have the Miraculous Transformation and you're swinging for a triple strike and then tapping 5 for Baby, then your leader can swing and untap the rest. That's really, really strong. But anyways, guys, I'm liking this build a lot as opposed to the blue yellow version. I think mono blue is the way to go. Again, maybe blue red is fine, but I'm liking this for now. But anyways, let me know in the comments below what you think. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.